So you can't flip-flop with the parental guidance. They're angry at you for one, but they want to be your best friend for something else. If you're going to be angry at me, be angry to lose your phone, lose the internet, don't open my fridge, actually don't open my door. That's where they sleep. So where do we draw the line on good parental guidance? Because
We'll start with the parents.
but you know what, we said it before, Cliff, it's called the generation.
Yeah.
It's what these new moms and dads, one, they're getting younger, that's number one, but they're learning it from their mom and dad, if their mom and dad was around, and what they're learning, they learn from their mom, and then so on and so on. If you didn't have the right guidance, if you weren't living in a home with a structure, with mother and father and knowing what is what, and then you had teachers, you had neighborhoods that helped raise a child. Your neighbor could look at you and say something and you listen. Now a neighbor can't say anything. Growing up, I grew up in Brooklyn, and if I was walking home and a neighbor said something to me, if I did something wrong, I dreaded that when my mom or dad was coming home, they did not stop and wave to say hello, because Mrs. Jones down the street is going to let them know, Roxy looked at me wrong.
Or a school teacher. Ooh.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Now, it's just sad. I watch all these. I watch a little, not a lot, a little bit of the news where they're having, school board meetings, and it's getting violent. And it's not about masks. The funny thing, it's no longer about masks anymore.
I've noticed that.
It's not about masks. People are just angry.
Yeah.
They're just angry, and when you're angry and your children are seeing that, this is what we're talking about, generational. If you can't control yourself, to a principal, to a teacher, someone in charge, when your child goes to school, they're going to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Mom and dad did it. So, police were there. Police are yelling too. We have some that are yelling, and just as crazy, which brings me to our month of November, which is our law enforcement month. So we're going to have we're having Crime Stoppers, Rick from Crime Stoppers here, that covers the entire Treasure Coast. You can ask them anything you want. We have the Chief of Police from Port St. Lucie. We have the Chief of Police from Fort Pierce, and we have the Sheriff's Deputy for our St. Lucie County. So we're going to have law enforcement here. The holidays are coming up, and this is where people do the craziest things, and they're going to let us know what's going on, what we should do, what we should look out for, because like we said from the beginning, they're crazy times, and people are now using their children to commit scams. They've been doing it before, but they're doing it even more, and it's sad. It's sad that you don't even need to know, are you joking? Are you kidding me? Now that the news came out that they may go ahead and give the okay for the vaccine for those children. I was sitting there and I looked at my husband and I said, anyhow they make that mandatory, that children have to get that vaccine to go to school, I said, another eruption is going to happen, because this COVID has just come to like a whole nother level, and people are they're not thinking right. So we want to encourage people. We want to just let people know, take a deep breath, look into yourself. They always say, treat somebody how you want to be treated. Yeah. And I think you can't go wrong with that. If you don't want someone yelling at you, screaming at you, don't do that to someone else. You see a car coming out and they have their blinker on and they're trying to get across. How would you feel if you're in a hurry and you want to get across, Yeah. So if one or two of us were supposed to just start to do that, it would make such a difference, and so much would change, because there's so much hostility going on. It is just absolutely crazy. And before, for some reason, I always leave it to the end, but I want to remind everyone that our drawing is coming up for December the 17th. Go to givecarebag.com and you can find all that information. And we are just hoping that we have the lucky draw for the Lexus UX here 2021 is on the Treasure Coast. That would be so cool.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
That would be cool if someone from our area could win.
The TV was won out in California.
The TV was won by Mark out in Santa Ana, California, and then the grill was won by right here in Port St. Lucie by a pastor. One church to one church, two services. That's what they do, Spanish and English. And it's funny
okay.
because they've helped Care Bag before with our first underwear drive.
Well,
and
that's
I didn't
great
know
to
it.
have a winner over there.
It's funny because I'm talking to her on the phone, letting her know she is the winner, and she called me by my name, which most people will know my name anyway. And we were just casual conversation. And when we got to Lowe's, thank you, Lowe's, and thank you, Two Men in the Truck, Treasure Coast, for the television. When we got to Lowe's, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I know you from somewhere. And she said, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I love it. So I'm going to tell you more about the car after these messages. We're going to hear from our wonderful sponsor, which is Treasure Coast Lexus, right on Midway and US 1. If you have never stopped by there, listen and stop by. Beautiful service, customer service. My name is Roxy, and I will be back right after these messages on WPSL on Careology.
You can register at givecarebag.com.
If you could reimagine the way you buy a car, what would you do? Make it simple, make negotiations disappear, demand transparency, then experience amazing at your Treasure Coast Lexus dealer. Car Buying Simplified. Treasure Coast Lexus is a proud sponsor of Careology. Every Tuesday at 6:05 p.m., caring and supporting for our community. Car Buying Simplified. Check out your Treasure Coast Lexus dealer. How would you like to win a Lexus UX 200 with taxes paid, no car payment? That sounds terrific. Go to givecarebag.com. All proceeds go to help our local nonprofit CareBag Incorporated, where they provide access to proper hygiene to those in our community in need. We also have 2 additional prizes. Go to givecarebag.com to find out how you could win a beautiful 2021 Lexus UX 200. No lease, taxes paid. Drawing December 17th, 2021.
Now return to the science of caring, Careology. Once again, here's your host, Roxy.
Good evening, and thank you for tuning back in with us. If this is your first time listening, we want to say welcome. We are here every Tuesday at 6:05 to 7, and you can join us and you can learn what's happening in the community. You can call in and ask questions. We also do this live through our Facebook page right on CareBag, and you can see us live and see us what we do. Or within the next 24 hours, we're on WPSL TV, and all our shows are archived in both locations. So if there's something you hear, a number you hear, and you want to get that information, we'll be happy to have that and leave it there for you. Clif and I are always on top of this. But like we were saying, we have our 2021 UX, our Lexus UX coming up. December 17th at 2 p.m. we are going to be pulling that winner if we meet our criteria. You can go to givecarebag.com and you can find out all the information. As long as you are in a state, when you put in your zip code that takes it, you can play, because every state has laws and we want to abide by those laws. So we have a good outside company that is making sure that we dot our I's and we cross our T's. So we are happy for that. Remember, the drawing is December 17th at 2 p.m. and it's a 2021 Lexus UX 200. And before, Cliff is going to look at me because I always never mention it, the taxes have been paid. So this is not a lease option. You have a brand new car with no payments, and taxes are paid for the state of Florida.
If you were on Wheel of Fortune and won a car, guess what you'd have
You
to
have
do
to
before
pay
you
the
left? You have to
taxes
pay the sales taxes
of
on
whatever
before
you win.
Bring it home.
That's right.
But not in this case. The sales tax is already paid on this item.
I know.
That's amazing.
And let's ask our guest, Kevin. What do you think about that? I'll put it here. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that would be a great gift for my wife.
Oh, there we go. You see that?
Now there's a man
and
that
it's knows the right thing to
the
say.
right thing to say.
That's right. We'll applaud you for that.
Yes.
Kevinton is my guest, and Kevinton, welcome. Thank you for coming on Careology. We appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you, and thank you for having me today.
Definitely. I get emails from you every day, 2 to 3 times a day. So come on, why not? So I'm Kevinton. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners and on Careology, and let them know who you are.
I'm Kevin Singletary. Currently, I work for the Roundtable St. Lucie County as the Kids at Hope Project Coordinator. I love what I do. Once said, my mentor said this: if you find what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. So currently, I'm not working. So
you're not working. You're just
I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Loving what you're doing. Well,
and you said Careology, which is very interesting because Kids at Hope, we call it Hopeology. So we have a lot of good things happening in this room this evening.
Well, thank you for coming. We do appreciate that. But you also forgot to mention Lincoln Park.
I also serve, I wear a lot of hats. So I started with the Kids at Hope. Also, I'm an advisor for our youth leadership, St. Lucie. And that is for teenagers that's in high school. They don't have to be in the public high school because currently right now we have teens that are homeschooled. We have some that's in the charter schools, some in the private sector, and some are in faith-based schools that comprise our youth leadership. Also, I am the secretary of the Lincoln Park Advisory Committee. And one of the things that I like about that is that we just recently did a change. It's not just the Lincoln Park, but it's the Lincoln Park community and surrounding communities because we touch everything in the north section of the county. I
am a member, everyone, so I am surprised I didn't know that because meetings are held when CareBag, our facility, is open. So I do read the emails, but I missed that one. Sorry. But it is good to have you here, and thank you for coming. And tell us a little more about Kids for Hope Project.
The Kids at Hope. Kids at Hope has been in the county since 2007. Okay. It actually started in Phoenix, Arizona by Rick Miller. So it is an evidence-based practice program. Rick Miller is, I call him a genius in this aspect, that Arizona State University actually has a course on Kids at Hope, and he is the professor. Wow. So he has given himself the title as the Chief Treasure Hunter. Once you go through the 2-hour initial training, you become a treasure hunter. Okay. And the thing that I like about the treasure hunter and living here on the Treasure Coast, we have the opportunity to work with the greatest treasure here on the Treasure Coast, and that's our youth and children. And one of the commitments that a treasure hunter makes every day is that you look for the skills, the talent, and intelligence that exist in all children and youth. So we're digging for that treasure. And as we know, sometimes when you go for gold, you have to move a lot of dirt to get a little bit of gold. Or you move a lot of dirt to get to the diamond. But you know what? In the end, it's worth it. And sometimes the piece of diamond or the piece of gold that you get is invaluable. So when we move some of the dirt out of some of these children's lives and unpack it is priceless.
That's what they said. If you want a diamond, it has to have pressure.
And for gold, it has to have fire to burn off all the impurities and make it even more pure. Yes.
Yes. So we like that. Kids of Hope. One of your young ladies that work. Oh my goodness, her name just slipped me. Kim Reed. Yeah, Kim Reed. I love her to death. She works there, so I know I hear we talk a lot and a lot of with what's going on with the Kids of Hope project. So we have an audience that might not necessarily know what Fort Pierce and Kids of Hope is. So what do you do for the children at the Kids of Hope project?
Kids at Hope is, as I said, it's not a program. It is a cultural framework. Okay. The endeavor of Kids at Hope is to change the paradigm shift from saying teens and youth are at risk to there's hope in every child. There's hope in every person that's on the face of the earth.
We just talked about that. I don't know if you were listening. We were just talking about that because so many things came up when we said our children, it's a generational.
Right. Right, and that's what we're talking about, impacting for generations to come. One of the beautiful things about St. Lucie County, we were the first county designated as a Kids at Hope County outside of the state of Arizona. So there are 3 universal truths, and I'll start there. The first is that we believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. So when we begin to use exceptionalities or labeling children, we begin to limit them, but they're limitless. Our second is that all children succeed when they have a meaningful and sustainable relationship with a caring adult. And the third is that youth that can articulate their future are more apt to complete what they're trying to do. And one of the things that we do for time travel is vision board activities. And I use this saying in every training. It's one of my favorite quotes. Helen Keller was asked once, what was worse than being blind? And her response to me has just changed my life. She said, to have sight and no vision. So one of the things that we work with young people is to instill vision. Because it's not where you start, it's where you end up.
Yes, that is true. That is very, very
And so
true.
we offer this training to anyone that works with children and youth in any capacity. We're in faith-based organizations, doctor's office, the dentist's office, the school system. We train the school resource deputies. We train the entire resource deputy unit this summer. Actually, the new chief deputy that sits on our board, we're training our board members. So it needs to start at the head and it trickles down. So one of the things with Kids at Hope, you have to have buy-in. And you need everyone. You need from the top to the bottom to buy in for it to be successful. So that's why we're training leadership. We're training the people that work on the front lines. And we're training the people that work directly and indirectly with youth and children.
I love that. It's so funny. I don't even know why me and Cliff, before we started talking about children and respect and how we need to teach them. And then here you come, because I know you wear so many hats, and I was like, okay, I'm saying to myself, I don't know which hat we're going to put on today, but we'll figure it out when he gets here. And here we start with something that has been it's been nagging at me all week, because as I go through the news and as I listen and as I get reports and as I see children, coming in and just needing different services through Care Bag, it's these children, a lot of them look so lost. You're hearing the news, and we just said it a minute, at the beginning of our show, children are now killing their parents and killing their caregivers more now, to me, I could be wrong, than they ever have before. I don't know if it's the pandemic, I don't know what's going on, but they're just so much anger and so much anger and hostility has been going on. So it's good to know that we have the Hope Project.
Right.
I love that.
And our second universal truth is children succeed when they have a meaningful and sustainable relationship with
Yes.
a caring adult. So we use the concept of 4 ACEs. The first ACE is the anchor parent. So if you take care of a child 24/7, 365, it's just not taking care of their physical needs, but it's emotional and their spiritual needs.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes I think that's where we miss it, the emotional needs of children. The second is the other caring adult, because there's an old African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. So when we look back on our childhood, who was that adult that cared for you outside of your home?
Yeah.
And then we talk about the one that sets high expectations, because sometimes if you set low expectations, you will always grab low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But there are children that are ready to soar, and sometimes all they need is someone to speak a word,
Positive.
and that's why we have the Kids at Hope Pledge, because every day they start their day with a positive affirmation. They say, I am talented, I am smart, and I'm capable of success. So that's why that's why we want the schools to continue to have them say the pledge every morning, because that's self-positive affirmation. You don't need someone to tell you that you're beautiful. When you can look into the mirror
You
and
can
you can
tell,
say,
yeah.
you can tell yourself that
Yep.
you're beautiful. And our fourth is that person that gives them opportunities to succeed. How do we set up opportunities for children to be successful? Because one of the things about the exceptionalities, every child don't arrive at the same time. And what success, because people say, what about success? Success
This is
for each
different.
person is
It's
different.
Yes, it is.
Because a special needs child might, at 5, just learn how to tie their shoes. That's success.
Yes.
That's success. And everyone's gifted differently. So one of the words that we use is the term smart. Now, the definition has recently changed, but I love the old definition. What do you have that the world needs is what makes you smart. Not your GPA, not your intellect. What do you need? So when you find your gift and what should I be contributing to the world? I had an issue at my house with plumbing. I'm not a plumber. I told my wife that if you're marrying Bob to build, I'm the wrong one. I don't turn wrenches. So at that time, I didn't need someone that had a PhD from Harvard or MIT. I needed to call a plumber that knew how to come and fix my toilet. So some people's giftings are their hands.
Totally different.
Other people's giftings are their mouth. Some people are their feet. And that's what we have to understand and help children understand. Where you gifted at and how you're going to contribute to this world.
But are you sure you weren't listening to us on the way here? Because we just said that it takes a village. We were talking about as when we were growing up, different age groups, but when we were growing up, if your neighbor said something to you, you stood at attention and you listened. Now you see a child you can't say anything to. It's that, should I, you're like, I'm gonna leave that one alone, and just that respect, and it just follows. Sometimes everything is just God ordered. I'm a firm believer in that, because that's what we were bantering about for that first 20 minutes, just about respect. How do children, how do you put value into a child? How do parents, grandparents, because grandparents, aunts and uncles are raising children now for different reasons. So how do you break that generation that you could instill into children just wanting to do better?
Well, that's why I think Kids at Hope is very helpful, because we also have a component now for social emotional learning. But youth leadership, we have an acronym in youth leadership, and we tell them that you are a rare breed. What does rare mean? That you're respectful, that you have the right attitude, you are responsible, and you do things with the spirit of excellence. See, right there, when you can tell a child, you're rare, you're not like everyone else. You're an original, because we can't, if you have multiple children and you rear your kids, they all bring something different to your life.
To the table.
They add something different to your life. You might have the same set of rules. And this is another saying we use, or I tend to use in my training. There were two brothers. One brother went to prison. The other brother went to college and became a lawyer. They asked the brother that went to prison, said, why did you go to prison? He said, because of my dad. They asked the other brother, why did you become a lawyer? He said, because of my dad. See, that's a matter of perspective.
How you look at it.
Right. See, you can take your haters, and the teens always love this. Let your haters become your motivators.
Oh, yeah.
When someone tell you can't do something, get motivated to prove them wrong. And so that's...
And when you have haters, that means you're doing something.
Something right.
Hello.
When you're here on a mission, you can gauge how important your mission is by the negative
response that you're getting. That is true.
And you said something about being an irritant, and that's one of the things that I share with the teachers. I said that one child that irritates you, what that child is doing is forming the pearl in you. See, this is a win-win, because you got to find the diamond
tonight.
So you got to find the diamond in that child.
Yes.
So that pearl is being formed in you, and so you can find the diamond in the child. So it becomes a win-win. Everything that I always say this. There's something positive in everything negative. It's easy to look for the negative.
Sometimes it's as easy as a reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna bring something. It's a little downcast, but I need to bring it because it actually happened this weekend. A young man was in foster care. I'm not gonna say his name, and I got a call. They said, Roxy, we need some help. He got kicked out of foster care right before he turned 18, but he's from here, but for some reason he ended up in foster care down in Fort Lauderdale. Because these things happen. They move you around. So he was actually working his way up here. And a man saw him and said he was going to help him. And unfortunately, that did not go well. Don't know if children are listening, but there was a police report that had to be made. And he had to be medically seen. So now this is going to scar him. We actually have one of our counseling groups that came on our show is actually talking to him and helping him. But do you know why he was walking from Fort Lauderdale to get back here? Because there was two teachers at the school where he was that encouraged him, and they went beyond what they did. And he knew that when he got here, they were going to help him. Even though what happened. You see what I'm saying? Because sexual assault happens to boys actually just as much as it happens to girls. This young man does not look 18. So when he came to me, we got him a hotel. We had donors that came, and we put him up in a hotel. He didn't know how to pitch a tent. He was sleeping behind dumpsters because he was scared. If either one of you gentlemen walked towards him, he'd jump out his skin. Yeah. Anywhere I had him, I had to make sure that I had no male contact within our vision. But what you said, Kevin, it just rang true. He came from no money, so he's hitchhiking. He's coming from Fort Lauderdale all the way here because he wanted to get to those two teachers, because he knew they were still teaching, because what they did, how they treated him was so exceptional. And when he came in and they saw him, they had a room that was empty. They put him in there. Kevinton, they said Roxy, he slept for 4 hours straight. Just slept just to help. So what you're saying, and individuals, because I know a lot of you might not know what's going on in this world. We have some that are in a little glass bubble. That's why I love this radio station, because some of you don't know what happens, but it is real, and it's through agencies like Kids at Hope Project that really can influence a child, whether this child is at home school, private school. You don't know what children are going through on different levels, but for this young man to try to make it back here, to go ahead and see these two teachers, this lets you know that what they are doing, it matters to children, because they might not have that influence at home, but they have it where they have someone. And I love what you said, by just having the right person to come in contact with, it makes such a difference. And and we thank you for that. What else do you want us to know? Or how can someone get involved into Kids at Hope Project?
Yeah, I probably need to give out our information.
That would really help.
I work for the Roundtable, so our website for the Roundtable is www.roundtable.com. If you want to get in touch with me, it is K Singletary. It's kind of long, at roundtableslc.org. My number is 772-979-1575. Say it again, 772-979-1575. Kim Reed, you can contact her at 772-240-2006. We would love to come in and train any organization that work with children in any capacity, because it is so important to get this message of hope out. And then just really quickly, as you were talking about ACEs, that's what we call when a child has a sense of belonging. That's one of the social emotional components of Kids at Hope, a sense of belonging. They feel accepted. They feel safe. And I always think back to my two ACEs in school. They weren't teachers. I felt safe with Mr. Flood. I always say this as a joke, but because I love to joke. I might seem serious, but I'm a clown. But be that as it may.
Join the club. You're in a good room.
Mr. Flood was about 6'4".
Uh-huh.
He was really skinny, but he wore like a size 15 shoe.
Wow.
So we always saw Mr. Flood in the big work boots. But the thing about Mr. Flood, when I was in elementary school, you felt safe. There was no foolishness going on.
Right.
And then Miss McAllister, she was the lady over the cafeteria. And you felt like you were going to Grandma's house every day for lunch. The food was good, and she made sure her staff prepared and served you with the spirit of excellence.
Wow.
So I felt I was having dinner with Grandma every day when I went to lunch, and I always felt safe because I know Mr. Flood was there. And so that made a big difference.
There's always somebody in our life. For me, it is Gloria Nelson. Gloria, that's a teacher. She was firm. She was strict, she was firm, but there was such a loving attitude about her. And Mr. Laurent, he was one of our principals. And principals are always, but those are two that I remember, because they always well dressed. They were firm, but they had that soft side to them that always wanted to do good, and that's important.
I remember some guidance counselors, Philippa Jones and Cora Monroe.
See, we all have somebody.
And it's easy to remember their names because they were such an integral part of our lives, because we'd go
they
sit
left
in their
an
office
impact.
and chat every morning before class.
Yeah, they left an impact, and that is what. And it's hard. It might be hard to do that now, but like we're learning from Kevin, Kids at Hope Project, that can be done. So we're gonna have his number and information up on WPSL TV. I will also put that information up with the picture that we take underneath there, and that stays up there together. But if you have a pen and you didn't have it, I'm gonna repeat it again for you: 772-979-1575. Did I get it right?
Correct.
And if you have any information, you want to learn more about this project, because like I always tell everyone, the homeless, people in need, that might not be your bag of tea, or animals might not be your bag of tea. But if it's in your heart, these are our children, these are our generation. If there's anything that you can do that you know what, this is what I want to help. I want to find out more. I want to see what I can do. Maybe you can do you take volunteers?
Not really, but
Not
I was going to
really?
say this in the sense of youth leadership. One of the things that we do with them is every year they get to pick a project they'd like to work on. A few years ago, they did a PSA on mental health awareness. And what the project was, what it entailed was they talked about the number of teens that's sitting in school suffering in silence.
Wow.
With their mental health issues and not asking for help or don't know how to ask for help. we meet tomorrow, and that's what I want to say about youth leadership. Every time they do a project, they get community service hours. So I know some of the youth were interested in homelessness. So I'll definitely be getting in contact with you in reference to that, because our youth are very concerned. And part of youth leadership is what we do is we teach them to be advocates for the things they're passionate about.
Right.
And something that they say that's really resonated with me, we want adults to dialogue with us, not talk at us, because they are relevant today. A lot of adults tend to put them off into the future. What they're saying is we're present, we're intelligent, we have value, and we want to be heard now.
And especially if you can vote.
And they're becoming
That's
advocates.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So youth leadership teaches them how to become advocates and a voice for the teens today.
Yes. Kevin, I love this. This is so much information. We are going to be back with Kevin Singletary. Did I say that correct?
Kevin Singletary.
Did I say Kevinton? Because I have a friend, Kevinton. I'm messing this up live. It's not even recorded. It's live.
Well, that proves one thing, though.
What?
We're all human.
There you go.
It.
So we're going to be back with the Kids at Hope Project, and we're going to be finding out it's just a great organization. And we're always saying the kids are our future, but what we heard, these kids now, they want to vote. They're making an impact now. So we're going to hear, we have a couple minutes left, and we're going to hear from our sponsor, and because we got to hear from them. They're the ones that keep us on the air. We love them for it. But my name is Roxy, and I'll be back with my guests, Kevin and Clif. And in a few minutes, we're hearing how we can support the Kids at Hope Project. So in a few seconds, not 1 minute, right, Clif? 1 minute.
Total of a whole minute.
A total of a whole minute. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back with Careology.
A minute.
How would you like to win a Lexus UX 200 with taxes paid? No car payment. That sounds terrific. Go to givecarebag.com. All proceeds go to help our local nonprofit CareBag Incorporated, where they provide access to proper hygiene to those in our community in need. We also have 2 additional prizes. Go to givecarebag.com to find out how you could win a beautiful 2021 Lexus UX 200. No lease, taxes paid. Drawing December 17th, 2021. If you could reimagine the way you buy a car, what would you do? Make it simple, make negotiations disappear, demand transparency, then experience amazing at your Treasure Coast Lexus dealer. Car Buying Simplified. Treasure Coast Lexus is a proud sponsor of Careology. Every Tuesday at 6:05 p.m., caring and supporting for our community. Car Buying Simplified. Check out your Treasure Coast Lexus dealer.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Welcome back to Careology. Once again, here's your host, Roxy.
Thank you, and thank you for tuning in. We appreciate all of you, especially when you guys call in. At least I know it's not just me, Cliff, and Jet listening. We know there's a whole lot of people. I got a message from one of my girls from Holland that we met since Careology. She said, I'm loving the show. She said it's great. So
hope she signed up towards that Lexus. Givecarebag.com.
If she wins, I don't know how we're gonna get that to Holland, but she can come here.
They might have
I'll hold it for her.
Yeah.
I can't play, so Kevin, I can hold it for her. But we are back, and during the break, we were here talking, and Kevin was just telling me the great things that they are about to do now that they're not meeting virtually, they're meeting together. That sounded exciting. What are they going to be doing? I moved your mic. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, that's fine. Youth leadership now currently. We are adopted Sportsman Park. We're one of the first youth groups to adopt a park. What that means is that we are responsible for cleaning the park once a month. So the youth decide which Saturday we go out for a couple of hours. We walk around and we pick up the trash. We're also going to be adopting a park because in the city of Fort Pierce as well, because recently they just passed some type of ordinance where they're going to open it up where you can adopt a park. So the youth want to do that because youth leadership encompasses St. Lucie County. It's not just Port St. Lucie, it's not just Fort Pierce, but it's the county. And I love that concept because the youth advocated for that. They said, I might live in Port St. Lucie, but what if I go to Lincoln Park? I care about what happens in Fort Pierce. If I live in Fort Pierce and I go to Treasure Coast, I care about what happens in Port St. Lucie because my school is there. Also, this coming Friday, some of our youth have volunteered to help out with the food bank. They've previously done stuff with Mustard Seed Ministries. And one of the beautiful things about the youth, our motto is youth-led, adult-guided. We allow them to think, and a lot of times youth will think outside the box. There are times when I have to be the gray-haired uncle there and kind of reel them in and say, wait a minute, based upon a few stipulations, we probably can't do that now. Because the one thing we tell them, no idea is a bad idea. Sometimes you got to have the right timing and the right people in place. And sometimes, their minds are so futuristic.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just not
they
the proper timing.
think way outside the box.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is.
So we give them room to be free to exercise their opinions, their thoughts. They have previously gone before the city council. They've gone before the board of county commissioners because they advocate for what they believe in and they want their voice to be heard.
Yeah, and when their voice is heard and when they know that we as adults are listening, believe it or not, they stay on track. They know people are listening. They know people are taking them seriously. And now they've basically charted their course. They can see through the different experiences you've given them what I want to do, what I want to become. I hear that as people come in the office, as they volunteer, because we love when the younger you are. I had a 2-year-old Sunday. Only thing, we were packing toothbrushes, sorting them out, but she was opening them. I didn't stop her. She opened quite a few. I didn't get upset because guess what? The next time she comes, she's going to learn how to pack.
Well, see, that's one of the things in Kids at Hope you've done. Because we said the 4 destinations of travel, one is community and service. You're building that capacity for her to say, well, this is my community, so I'm going to help.
That's right.
And that's the thing. We just don't want people to exist in the community. We want them to live to flourish and understand and take ownership. This is my community, so I'm going to protect where I live.
I love that. And it has been such a joy to have you on and to share with our listeners everything going on, because I don't know about you, Cliff, but I learned a lot. I thought I knew a little bit when I talked to Kim, but I learned a lot more. And it just gives us, like we said, it's so funny how we started talking at 6 o'clock just about our young people, and here we're learning there is an avenue.
The subject tonight.
Little we know it was the subject, but there is an avenue. So if someone has a child out there that they know that this can be for them, they just need to call you.
They need to call us. We have an application process. We just have a basic minimum requirement. They have to be in high school in St. Lucie County and a minimum GPA of 2.5. And the reason we set that there is because all leaders aren't going to bake straight A's.
That's true.
That doesn't determine your leadership ability, your GPA, because some of the greatest leaders in the world
didn't even finish high school.
I'm not going to encourage them to drop out of college, but we can name some that have dropped out of college and they're flourishing today.
We're not going to name them because we don't want to put anything in their head, but every cup of tea is different for everybody.
Exactly.
So if you are listening and you know what, I know someone that might be able to benefit, and I live in St. Lucie County, I'm going to say the number again, so you just get that pen before we go. It is 772-979-1575, and ask for Kevin, and tell him Roxy sent you. Just say Roxy sent me. They'll put you right through. You have a straight call. I'm giving myself a lot of props here.
You deserve it.
Just give him, because you never know where this is going to lead. Kevin, it has been such a privilege for you to come on. I do appreciate your time coming down here, spending these couple minutes with us and sharing about Kids of Hope Project. I learned a lot, and we want to just keep this message out. We don't know who's going to hear, but this is a talk radio, so people listen. That's one thing. They don't just turn the dial, listen for their favorite song. They listen because they are WPSL listeners are invested in their community here. So we're happy to have you, and we're glad to learn more about it. So we are just going to give Kevin a big applause and just thank him to just come out and just say thank you. It's just been great learning. Anything with young people, I get excited. You know, everyone knows I have Jet. I have a 16-year-old producer that helps me with my show. 16 years old. He already wrote his first book, and he is just amazing. And he's going to come, actually going to call him because I want him to do his own show by himself. Not me, not his mom.
He could sit in for you.
He sure can sit in for me, and he'll do it. You guys might not want me back after he comes, but that's all right.
I just had a novel idea.
What?
If you have Jet host for you, then we can bring some of our youth leadership kids and let the teens do the entire show.
We sure can. We can. That would be. This
could do that.
This is Roxy's show. I have every Tuesday at 6:05 to 7. I can kind of do what I want to do. I like that idea. Bring it to them. We'd love that because it's about giving back. It's about sharing with our community, and that's what we love to do. And I know you guys would love to hear youth perspective about what's going on in our community. You guys are our listeners are so invested in our community here, and we love that. So I just want to remind everyone, we at CareBag, our offices are open every Tuesday from 10 to 2. And starting November 11th, because we have been so blessed that we can go ahead and we found a lot of mothers of some work, employment, we are opening our new hours starting November the 11th at 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. so that when they get off work, they can still reap the benefits of what we have at CareBag. Remember, if you would like to donate, please go to givecarebag.com, and you can go to our donation page, and we would love to receive a donation from you. 100% of whatever you give goes to our organization. You can stop by our office, and we'll be happy to show you around what we do and how your dollars are being spent here at CareBag. My name is Roxy, and Kevin, again, thank you for being my guest. Thank you, Clif, for being the most super engineer ever. I appreciate it. And we will be back again Tuesday next week. But remember, givecarebag.com. Go there, check out our Lexus, check out everything about us. Have a good night, and I will see you next week Tuesday.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.